In 1985, Steve Jobs was thrown out of the company he had built. Apple, the business he had co-founded in his parents' garage at the age of 21, the company whose Macintosh he had willed into existence through sheer force of personality, fired him after a boardroom power struggle with CEO John Sculley. Jobs was 30 years old, publicly humiliated and devastated. He later said that getting fired from Apple was the best thing that ever happened to him, but at the time, it felt like a death. He considered leaving Silicon Valley entirely and even explored becoming an astronaut or a Buddhist monk. Instead, Jobs started over. He founded NeXT, a computer company that built beautiful, powerful, and absurdly expensive workstations that almost nobody bought. The machines were engineering marvels wrapped in a magnesium cube, but at $6,500, they were commercial failures. NeXT hemorrhaged money for years. Jobs poured his own fortune into the company and watched it shrink. Critics who had celebrated his departure from Apple now pointed to NeXT as proof that Jobs had been a one-hit wonder, whose success had always depended on Steve Wozniak's engineering genius. But Jobs had also made another bet. In 1986, he bought a struggling computer graphics division from George Lucas for $10 million and renamed it Pixar. For nearly a decade, Pixar lost money while its team developed the technology for computer-animated filmmaking. Jobs funded it personally, pumping in over $50 million of his own money, and came close to selling the company multiple times. The team was brilliant, but the business was dying. Then in 1995, Pixar released Toy Story, the first fully computer-animated feature film. It grossed $373 million worldwide and launched an unbroken string of hits that would redefine animated cinema. While Jobs was building Pixar, Apple was falling apart without him. The company released a string of failed products. Its market share collapsed from 16% to 4%, and by 1997, it was 90 days from bankruptcy. In a move of desperation, Apple bought NeXT for $429 million, bringing Jobs back as an advisor. Within months, he had maneuvered himself into the position of interim CEO, and the first thing he did was kill nearly every product Apple was making. He reduced 15 product lines to 4 and told the demoralized workforce that the cure for Apple was not cost-cutting, but innovation. The iMac, released in 1998, was the first product of Jobs' second era at Apple, a translucent blue computer that looked like nothing anyone had ever seen. It sold millions and proved that design could be a competitive weapon. But the iMac was just the beginning. The iPod in 2001 transformed the music industry. iTunes in 2003 gave it a legal digital marketplace. And then, on January 9, 2007, Jobs unveiled the iPhone, a device that combined a phone, an iPod, and an internet communicator into a single object controlled entirely by touch. The audience gasped. The competition panicked. Within 5 years, the iPhone had destroyed Nokia, BlackBerry, and Motorola, and created a $2 trillion ecosystem of apps and services. Jobs also oversaw the creation of the iPad, the MacBook Air, the Apple Store retail chain, and Apple's transformation into the world's most valuable company. Pixar, meanwhile, was acquired by Disney for $7.4 billion, making Jobs Disney's largest individual shareholder. The man who had been kicked out of his own company had returned and built it into something far greater than it had ever been before. Steve Jobs was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer in 2003 and fought the disease for 8 years. He died on October 5, 2011, at the age of 56. In his famous Stanford commencement speech in 2005, he told the graduates that being fired from Apple had been the catalyst for the most creative period of his life. He said that the heaviness of being successful was replaced by the lightness of being a beginner again, less sure about everything, and that it freed him to enter one of the most creative periods of his life. His story is the definitive proof that being cast out is not the end. Sometimes it is the beginning of everything that matters.